Hello everyone. Let us go ahead and start chapter 2, or which is the unit 2 of, I believe, chapter number 1 that we have in our book. That is an introduction to Java. So this is the second part of the first chapter itself, introduction to object-oriented programming concepts. If you have a look on the contents in the book. So let us see. So let us go ahead and talk about the basic things that we are going to see in this chapter so that we save time in reading all this. First of all, let us see who was the developer of Java. So Java was developed by James Gosling and his colleagues at Sun Microsystems. And later on, the reason, let us see what was the reason main why Java was developed. So Java is an object-oriented programming language developed primarily by James Gosling and his colleagues at Sun Microsystems. The language was initially called Oak, named after the oak tree outside Gosling's office. So later on it was changed into Java from Oak. 1991, Sun Microsystem, which is a US company, developed a complete language named Java as a part of a research work to develop software for consumer electronics. So consumer electronics mainly are your washing machine, microwave, and smart TV or the normal TVs and so on. It was developed as a full-fledged programming language in which one can accomplish the same sort of task and solve same problems in other programming languages such as basic C++, etc. So it was a complete language, very, very similar to C++ with a lot of changes, of course, but it could perform all the tasks that these programming language were able to do. The platform's independence in Java is one of the most significant advantage that Java has over other languages. So Java has a very particular, winning edge over other programming languages at that point of time, that it could be, you could run Java on any computer, even if you have written the program on a specific machine, on a specific computer. So it has the capability of moving easily from one computer, one system to another system. Java, being an object-oriented programming language, has adopted many features of C++. So it is very, very close to C++ in features. Originally, Java was designed to execute applets, the program executed by using a web browser. So initially, the main focus of Java, when it became as a programming language for software developers, software developers use Java for executing applets or for creating applets. But gradually, the language gained wide acceptance as a programming language, replacing C and C++. So it became very famous. So what are the basic features of Java? Java is an object-oriented programming language. It is both compiled and interpreted. So it is one of the very few languages which are both compiled and interpreted, as we can see, as we'll see. It can access data from a local system as well as from the internet. So if you want to access your data from your computer machine on which you are developing your software, like a laptop, or if you want to fetch data from over the internet, you can do both the things from it. Let's go ahead and see the next page. And I would, like everyone to refer the books while you are seeing this video. That will really help you out. Let us go ahead and, okay. So these are the features that we have. So if you have a look on the top of the page, let me just scroll it down. Java program is written within a class. The variables and functions are declared, which are defined within the class. All right. So sorry for the interruption. Let's go ahead and repeat the point that we were reading. Java program is written within the class. The variables and functions are declared which are defined within the class. So the entire Java programming is a class-based program, and the variables are and functions are declared within the class. They are defined within the class. We'll see what does that mean, how we will define the function, how we will define the variables. So Java programs can create applets, the programs executed inside the Java based web browser. So if I want to run an applet program, applet program specifically is a special kind of a program which is executed only on a web browser. But that web browser also should have a Java capability. It should be able to run Java. Then only it will run on the browser. And applications, the program developed by the user like any other programming language. So there are two kind of programs that I can create in Java. One is an applet program and the second one is an application program that we will create in this course that we are going to learn for this year. Unlike C++, Java does not require any preprocessor or inclusion of header files for creating a Java application program. So you don't have to, include a specific file in order to go ahead and start programming. So if you have learned C or C++ programming, we always include, certain header files in the beginning of the program using this preprocessor, the the hashtag symbol that we have. So that is not done in Java. Java is case sensitive. That means the uppercase and the lowercase are different for this language. So if I write apple with a capital A and if I write apple with a small lowercase a, they are treated as different words. Now coming to a very important point that we have to keep in mind while we are trying to learn this chapter, Java compiler and interpreter. So you know that the compiler and interpreter are used in various computer languages. Each computer language uses either the compiler or interpreter to convert source code into object code. So we all know that whatever program I'm writing, whatever source code I'm writing over here, whatever source code I'm writing over here, I need to convert it into my object code. So the object code is a code which is directly run by the machine. So what it is saying here is Java language treats compiler and interpreter in different ways. So Java compiler is a software that converts the source code. It converts the source code into an intermediate binary form called bytecode. Now we have to understand this. The source code is not directly converted into an object code. It is converted into a bytecode first using a compiler. So the compiler from the source code, it is converted into a bytecode and not an object code. This is the main difference. The bytecode is a common binary form of the program and works irrespective of the machine on which it is to be executed. Now, this bytecode is machine independent. Please understand, we will be able to understand how I can run a Java program on any computer. So once I have written a bytecode on my, once I have generated a bytecode on my computer, now if I install the interpreter on any computer, let it be OS2, Unix, Windows 8. If I install an interpreter for Java, this bytecode will run through the interpreter and an object code will be created. Let's see. So further, Java interpreter accepts the bytecode and converts it into the machine code suitable for a specific platform. Now, there must be a question, why not use a compiler directly for all these platforms? Why to have, this specific uh, interpreter to go ahead and use on the machine? So the answer is, please understand this, writing a compiler is a very difficult job. If you want to write a compiler, it is very difficult to write. However, writing an interpreter is very easy. So it is far more easier to write interpreter for different computers as compared to writing a compiler. So what they have done is they write the compiler, the compilers are few. However, an interpreter can be written for any operating system or any machine. So now you have it. Now we understand how Java programs use compiler as well as interpreter and how they can actually run on any machine that we want. Let us go ahead. Let me just erase the markings on the screen and let us just scroll down a little bit. Let us read about Java virtual machine. Java interpreter is a Java virtual machine. So Java interpreter converts bytecode into machine code. It is also known as Java virtual machine. So what is known as Java virtual machine? The Java interpreter. So there is no machine as such. Once you learn Java and you talk to a lot of people, those who are learning Java in the industry, you will find they're really confused. They say, no, actually there is a machine and there is a software or a desktop. So there is nothing like that. It's just an interpreter. It's a software which we also call as Java virtual machine. It not only converts the bytecodes received from the Java source code, but also converts the bytecodes of other non-Java environment. So let's focus on only one part, which is written over here. It converts the bytecode received from Java source code. Though Java interpreter is a software, but due to its nature of conversion of bytecode into multiple source codes, from multiple source codes, sorry, it is referred to as a virtual machine. So why do we call it a virtual machine? Because Java interpreter has one special feature that you can not only convert the source code, or sorry, the bytecode from a Java environment, but other languages, non-Java environments also can also be converted into a binary code when you run it through the interpreter. Now, what can be these non-Java environment? Remember, we are talking about creating Java or writing Java program for consumer electronics. So not only necessary that I want to write an application that will run on a computer. I can write an application that is going to run on a washing machine, but still Java virtual machine, JVM, or the interpreter is going to work for it. All right, perfect. Now let's go ahead and see Java libraries in JDK 1.3. So Java package is a collection of various classes. So the entire Java programs or the entire Java language is composed of classes. Now, if I group a large number of classes together, it forms a package. So Java package is a collection of various classes. Each class contains different functions, and in case you want to use a specific function of a class within your program, then the package containing the function needs to be included into your program. A package can be included in the program by using the keyword import. The syntax of importing a package is as listed below. So there are a couple of things that we have discussed in this paragraph. Let us understand it one by one. There will be a few terms that you will not understand. Let me open my notepad so that you can see and understand what I'm talking about. So just allow me a moment while I turn on the notepad. I hope we have the notepad on the screen now. Okay. So if you have a look here, as I was saying, the entire coding, the entire programming in Java is done on the basis of classes. And inside a class, you will have a lot of functions that are going to work for you. And I can use these functions for my own benefit, for my own work. However, there's not just one class written. So what will happen if I group a lot of classes together? It will be called as a package. So a package contains a group of classes. Now, if I want to go ahead and use a specific function, what does that mean? Let's say, for example, I want to print something, to print a message on the screen. I want to print a message on the screen. So I will have to use a function which is called system.out.println, and I will pass my message over here. Let's say hello world. So the main function that we have is println. This word that you see here, println, is the function, and you are using it. Now, certain functions are available in certain classes, and all those classes are available in certain packages. So what we do is we import or we call those packages into our program so that we can use them. I'll give you an example so that you can correlate to what I'm talking about. If you want to go ahead and use certain features on your cell phone, you have to install the apps, sorry, and you have to install the updates. Or if you want to use certain specific application, you have to go to the Play Store and install the app on the mobile phone first. So I need to have the software before I use it, right? This is very this is a common sense that I'm talking about. So if you have a look, there are two packages which are mentioned in the book. One is import. Import is the command to get those packages in our program that we are going to write. So import java.io.star. That is one package. And the other one is import java.util.star. These are the packages that we have that we can use in our programs. I hope you were able to get a little bit of a picture of what I'm trying to say. So basically we have a package on the top, then we have classes inside a package, and inside the classes we have our functions that we are going to use. So as I said, if you want to use a function, you need to have a class, and if you want to use a class, you need to have a package. So that is what we do. We include the package, this java.io.star. So which is the package that is being used? The IO is the package. Now I'm sure you must be thinking, what does this alpha character star means here? So this is what we are going to read in the next paragraph. So slowly and gradually, we are going to build upon our concepts. I would highly recommend that you keep on learning along with the videos so that nothing comes out to be really different for you, students. So let us go ahead and continue with our book and focus on the paragraph that we have. So I need to go on the next page. And so just allow me a moment while I turn the page. Okay. I think this is the one. All right, let's have a look. The packages, that is java.io and java.util, include classes related to input output and utility functions respectively. What does that mean? So if I want to have the input and output capability of my program, if I want to take an input from the user and I want to print something, I want to display an output, so I will use two packages, java.io, that is input output, and java.util. Now both these packages have input and output capabilities. We will see. Java.lang, if I read on the right hand side, is a default package of Java programming. That is, it will automatically be imported in any Java program to avail its classes and function. So Java.lang function is the very basic uh, package that will be imported automatically. So let's read about the asterisk sign. The asterisk sign, the star sign, denotes that all the classes of the concerning package will be made available for use in your program. So let's say, for example, I want to use only a specific function from a particular package. Let's say, for example, I have the maths package. If you look at the bottom of this table, this math package contains various functions to calculate mathematical values like a square root, cube root. So there are two ways. Either I include the entire package, or I can also import only specific function like the sqrt function. We will see it how to import a specific function and how to import the entire thing. So right now, if I want to import the entire package, I have to use the star. So how will I write it? I will write import java.lang.star, or import java.io.star, import java.applet.star, java.net.star, java.awt.star, and so on. Okay. However, if a specific class is to be specified in the program, then the specific class name must be used in place of the asterisk. So I will have to replace the asterisk sign with a specific class name that I want to use. For example, import java.util.scanner. Now this scanner class is a class which is used to take the input. So we will be using scanner class if I want to only import, or if I want to use only the scanner function. So let me just go ahead and give you an example of the same thing. Let me stop my screen share and let me share my notepad so that we can all understand. Okay. So there are two ways. Either I can write import java.util.star. Now inside the star, I will get all the functions. Star means all the classes are included in the program that we are writing. Okay, but what if I want to include only one specific class? Let's say, for example, import java.util.scanner. That is also valid. Now only the scanner class is imported in the program that we are writing. So very important to understand that it is only what is a scanner class. Don't worry about if you are not able to understand, what I'm writing, and you have heard, if you are hearing it for the first time, don't worry about it. This is nothing but a simple class that we use to take an input. We will see it in detail in the coming chapters. But however, the key point to take from here is we use the import function to import a class or a package, and star to include all the classes. And if I mention a specific class name, then only that class will be used in my program. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and read further. So there are a lot of packages listed below that come under the Java Development Kit. Now what is JDK? JDK is the software that you download from the internet on your laptop or a desktop if you want to run Java, and it will contain the Java compiler and all these packages. This is the factory product, I would say, the product that you get from the company who is taking care of Java nowadays. Okay. Now you can read about all these packages yourself. It gives you an idea about if you want to do different work, it will help you providing different kind of classes for different facilities. Let's come to the last topic of this video, which is the reserved word. Now certain words in our daily language are all reserved and cannot be used for any other thing. Let's say, for example, uh, if I'm inside the school, the word principal has a specific meaning. All right, it denotes a person in authority, it denotes a person in power, and also who is really the supreme leader of the organization. Similarly, if I talk about the journal English, there are certain words which have a specific meaning. If I talk about the word good, then we all know it's an adjective. It is enhancing the action word. So similarly, certain words in any language cannot be used as per our own choice. We cannot use them if we want to use them in some other context. What do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, I want to go ahead and name a class. Okay, everybody will be creating a class in Java. So I cannot go ahead and name a class as switch. I can't. That is not possible. You can name it anything, but you cannot name it what is mentioned over here in this table. You can call it average, you can call it student, you can call it employee, you can call it bank, you can call it anything that you think, but you cannot use these words. So if I write public, if I write class and then I mention the name as, let's say, catch, that is not possible. So what are reserved words? So reserved words are not just for Java, but they are in all the languages. So reserved words are the keywords. Sorry, these are the keywords that have special meaning, that have special meaning to the system compiler. These words are basically used for writing a Java statement. Such words cannot be used for naming a variable in a program. Some of the reserved words or keywords are listed below. So basically, if you understand it properly, these are nothing but the commands that the compiler is going to use for its own. So you can't use them in a variable name. You can't use it for naming a class. All right. Once you'll be writing certain programs, you will understand what does reserved words means or keywords means. So what are reserved words or what are keywords? Keywords are the reserved words in any language that have special meaning. All right. So I believe for this particular video, we are good up till this point, and we will continue with the next point later on, in which I will also go ahead and give you a glimpse about how Java programming or coding is done using BlueJ. BlueJ is the software that we will be using in order to write programs in ninth and 10th, both as per our board direction. So hope to see you all in the next video, and please go through what we have covered in this one so that you can understand it.